Hi there, it's Connie-Rae. Welcome to another craft tutorial with stampityourself.com. Today's tutorial is this little card here that I have made. A little bit of bling using some designer series paper, some gold craft paper, and some sequins, and some stays on ink. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for all the feedback for the last tutorial that I did. Everybody seemed to like it. It was very popular in some of the forums. Yeah, it was really cute, I have to say. I really enjoyed making it. This one's just as cute, a little bit fiddly, but it's just as nice once you've got the finished product. It's up to you. But anyway, this is how you do it. So you're going to need your Paisley and Posies set. Can't say that too fast. Along with your dies. I've used those. You need some black cardstock, which is, let me just bring in my material. I've already cut and stamped and scored so that you don't have to sit there through it with me. You need a piece of black cardstock, which is 11 by 4, scored at 5.5. So that's for those people who are new to crafting. 11 is the landscape. The width is 4 inches, and it is scored, which means it's just run in half at 5.5, which makes a nice size gift card. You've got a designer series paper. This is out of the Petals and Paisley Specialty DSP, which is designer series paper. I have used my normal, those people who do follow me already know that I use my stitch dies. I use these a lot because they're just easy to use and they look good, and you can just whack it on your paper and cut it out. Excuse me. And you get these really easy dimensions for the stitching around. For me, that's just the quickest way to go at the end of the day. That's why I use them, and plus they look cosmetically nice. They're just a nicer finish on your craft item. This designer series paper, if you haven't got one of those templates, it's the die cut stitched lawn fawn rectangular squares, rectangular dies. If you haven't got those, you don't need them. The designer series paper measurements are 4 7/4 in inches in length, and in width they're 3.5. So if you haven't got something to cut it out with, you can do that on your scoreboard or your whatever it is that you use to cut. How you cut it, I don't know, but I definitely need my tools, that's for sure, because I just fiddle around too much. Now, this designer series paper, isn't it beautiful? It is so pretty. I didn't really want to take much away from the designer series paper because it is lovely. On the back, it's really busy and it's still beautiful, but I actually found this side actually pretty and very elegant to look at. And then I thought, I don't want to take anything away from the designer series paper. I want to add to it to make it prettier. So how do I do that? So then I found some gold paper that I had and some black stays on ink. Oh, dropped something. And I have used the stamp, which is this one. Let me just get the stamp set so that you can see it. I have used the one that, because it reminded me, when I got the gold out, it actually reminded me of sunflowers. So I used this particular stamp here with the sunflower look, not the one above it, which is the rounded one. I've used the one with the little sunflower look, and I've used the die that comes in the set, and that's why I love dies, because they just make life so easy around your stamp. And Stampin'Up does that beautifully. You got your dies to match your stamp. Can't complain. So basically, I've cut it out with the die, and it's left you that gorgeous little sunflower. So in saying that, once I had done that, I then thought, oh, sunflowers. I like sunflowers. So I then went about fussing about and putting them into proportion. I also cut out some leaves, and I have used these gorgeous little leaves down here. I don't know if I can get it into focus for you to see without the light being a bit of a pain, but yep, oh, nearly. Yeah, everybody who watches me regularly knows that this is always one of my issues, getting everything into focus, because I don't use a video camera. I just use one of those cams. Oh, there it is. Oh. Anyway, it's that one there. There's another 2 in the package, which are these leaves here, and they are just as beautiful, but I particularly like this little one. So I've used that one along with the dies again, and I have gone and cut that out and done these little leaves using that die that marries up with that stamp quite beautifully. So there you go. I've done 3 leaves and 3 sunflower stamps, and used the dies, the coordinating dies, blah, blah, blah. So what else have I done that I want to make? Oh, yes. Okay, and with this gold particular cardstock, it is gold. This is it here. It's just plain gold sheet, gold sheeting. It comes from Stampin'Up. You get silver and gold in this lot. With this, you need to use the StazOn, the black stays. In this instance, I've used black StazOn. I have got lots of other colours in StazOn, but you need the alcohol base, which is the black StazOn. So when you're stamping it, it's going to stay on. Your other stamps probably won't dry as quickly and as safely. They will smudge. So it's easier just to use the black StazOn, which is this one here, to stamp on and off. It's not hard. Stamp on, stamp off. Really, quite simple. But just make sure you use the StazOn to do it. Okay, all that out of the way, really it comes down to just the construction of the card and then also the sentiment, which I have already I haven't actually done the sentiment, but the sentiment I have created on vellum, and it says, "Amazing You." I've actually got a birthday surprise coming up on the weekend, and I'm thinking maybe I would just use that one. I'm not sure. It's a bit blingy. So I guess it's, you know, a preferred taste, but blingy is always very popular. For the sentiment, I've used this particular set that I've got here, which is a Hostess Express Yourself stamp set, and you may or may not have it. You can use any sentiment this way. The way that I've used it here on the vellum and stamped it and just stuck it on. I don't know if this one's still available, but I particularly like the actual sentiments. You can never go wrong when it comes to sentiments because that really finishes off your card, and there is always a need for lots of words that are nicely written and fit well. And this is the one that I've used. So this is Express Yourself, the Hostess set. If you've got it, great. I've used the Amazing You. If you haven't, it doesn't matter. Use whatever you've got. It's entirely up to you. So we'll just go ahead and construct it. It's not hard. Like I said, the main part is doing your stamping. Make sure you ink up really well before you pop it onto the gold. It will stick as you're pulling it off, so don't fear, you know, like when you pop it down, press it down really firmly, pop it back. It will peel off, kind of like a peeling feel, but it won't tear it. So, and then use the dies, and I used medical tape, this medical tape to hold down the dies over the actual stamped images, so that when I've got it on the plate, the metal plate, it stays still and it doesn't cut out funny, particular, unwanted looking flowers. Okay, the only other thing that I have done, and this is completely optional, I used my black Artline 200 fine pen on here, and I don't think you can really actually see it. But you might want to go ahead and do it. And on here, on the stems of the flower, I have just got a ruler and gone straight up and down with the black, as you can see here. And I actually thought of using the glossy accents on the stem, but you know what? I don't think it needs it. It's blingy enough, but I just wanted to emphasize in the actual picture, when you actually look at it, you can't really see the lines in terms of the flowers. So I just wanted to make them a little bit more obvious, but really it doesn't make any difference because I think the whole philosophy of the card is there. It's basically saying this is what I am, a sunflower, hopefully. Heaven forbid. People might think it's something else. And I used some of the green sequences out of the Fancy Frost sequence. We've got lots of these, and there's the gorgeous Christmas colours that came out, which are, oh, don't they look beautiful? Oh. I've used the greener. There's a few green, blue, or whatever colour you wanted to call them, and I've just popped them on the top of the little sunflower piece in there, and of course that makes it even more blingier. So yeah, it looks nice when it's finished though. My big thing about cards, and I'll just stick this together while I'm talking to you, is that I don't like them to be too busy. And I actually do struggle with designer series paper, because especially busy designer series paper, like this one at the back. I would struggle getting that into a design for me. But that doesn't mean that this isn't beautiful stuff. It is beautiful stuff, and I just adore it. So I'm trying to teach myself to deal with it and use the simpler kind of style in the designer series paper, because it is beautiful and I do want to use it. Unless you're making a box, it's a completely different story if you're making a box. But if you're making a small front of a card, it's very difficult. Well, I always find it very difficult to not to make it stand out, but not make it look crowded when you look at it. I like my cards to look elegant and simple, but beautiful, if that makes sense. It's a hard task, isn't it? Okay, so I've just put 5 dimensionals, one in the middle just to pop it up on the back. And of course, you know, it's pretty straightforward from here. Once you know how to actually do this card, most of the cards that I do are pretty straightforward once I've hashed out the design. It's the design that's the hard part. So pop that on. I've used some dimensionals behind the little flowers, my little sunflowers, which are really cute. Dimensional behind each one. And of course, placing them is always important. So in this particular instance, I have put one fairly high at the top to give the depth of the paper. Yes, my little bobble card that I uploaded yesterday has been received quite well on my social media outlets that I'm a part of. I put those on, well, I actually list them on the social media just so I can get a gauge as to what people do and don't like, and it's been received really well, so that's really encouraging. I'm glad that people really liked it, and it was a fun card to make and put together, just like this one. Okay, and then I've used just some multimedia matte glue so that when it dries, it's actually going to dry matte. And you can use Tombow as long as you don't get it all over the place. Like me, I use what the safest method is, because you can guarantee I'll mess it up if I have the opportunity. So I have just placed some, you can use a toothpick or you can use the back of your pick. And I have placed these little leaves strategically on the flowers, just to make them stand out a bit more. Let me pop this around this way so I can see what I'm doing. Because, like I said, if it's the way that you put things together that sometimes it always matters, doesn't it? There you go. Just put one there. Actually, it looks like it's a bit further down, so I might just move that down a bit. About there, I think. Lucky. See what I mean? If I didn't use the matte, it would be wet and would look awful. So the matte will dry matte, and you won't be able to see it. So it's a bit of a safe bet. But the Tombow glue will work just as well. And this one over here. And the last one on the third flower. And somewhere in between all of that. Don't know if that's in between all that, but anyway, that's fine. So that's our, I'll put the sequence on while we're here, and we've got our dimensional glue out, our multi-matte blobs out. I'll also just use those up. So again, I've just used the same glue and popped these right in the center of the sunflower. So, and it makes it look just a little bit more blingy, especially in the picture. In real life, it just looks fine. In the picture, it looks like I don't know what it looks like. Like when you're looking on it here, it kind of looks it's fine. Let's face it. If you give a card to somebody and it's interesting to look at, and they know that you've made it, it makes they sort of think, oh wow, that's really interesting. How did you do that? And how did you do that? So, you know, it's always worth giving it a shot. You don't know until you try. There we go. So I've popped those on now. So they will dry relatively quickly. And while that is doing that, we will just go ahead and we will stamp our, I'll just use my, pop these out of the way, a little bit over there, over that side. Get our vellum Did I say that we used vellum for the sentiment? I hope I did. But anyway, that's what we're using. A piece of vellum. And that vellum piece is, let me give you the dimensions of the, yes, one small piece of vellum. And it is, I can tell you now, it is 3.5 by 1 inch. So just 3.5 by 1 inch. And we're going to stamp it with some Versamark and then some white embossing paper. And I'm just wrecking the joint as we speak, but that's okay. Just use this to make sure, or use sanding buddy. Use that. I have got one here somewhere, but I can never find it. So I just like to make sure, because if you're not careful with embossing, it can look kind of funny. Versamark, and I've used Versamark on my stamp, which I have put. Where have I put my stamp? I forgot it out and got it ready. And do you think I could find it? No, that would just be the case, wouldn't it? Let me see. Is this? This is it. Okay, I haven't got it prepared. I did think I had it prepared, but I don't. All right, that's okay. You can use a normal block for this. It doesn't have to be misty. Okay, so we're just going to put it there. Yep, about there, I think. But any of the blocks you can use just to stick it down on the block. Crash, bang. Sorry about the noise, folks. So I'm sort of just placing that in the middle. Just make it nice and juicy with Versamark. Just get my chair is squeaking, so it's not my bones. It's the chair. Trust me, it's the chair. Okay, and I try and get the habit of putting everything back when I use it, because I get into the habit of just throwing things everywhere, and when I want something I can never find it. Okay, so just placing that on there. It's been nice and juiced up. You don't want to press too hard, because you don't want the outline of the stamp to go on the front there. You just want the words. Oh, I think I messed that up. I think I did mess that up. Okay, let's turn it over and do it again, just to be sure, because I put my finger right in the middle of it. We'll do it on the other side, just for the purposes of this video. Okay, just to be 100% sure, just stamp it down. I'm trying not to put my big finger in the middle of it all. Here we go. Yeah, that looks all right. Okay. So now we're just going to get some white embossing powder. And I'll turn my heat gun on, so you'll hear this funny noise. But if I turn it on, it'll heat it up while we're putting on the embossing powder. So we're just going to put some embossing powder on. Now I really do hope that I embossed the right side then. Yes, I think I did. Not the part that I put my big finger in. If you get any on your little lettering per se, there's a few things that you can do. People have got tricks that they use for these kind of things, but I always fall back onto this one. Just use the little brush on the end of the thing to get off any extra bits that weren't supposed to be there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Particularly difficult on black cardstock, I have to say. Vellum is pretty good though. It's pretty figurine to a degree. Okay, so we're just going to emboss that. Amazing you. Oh, I got my little kitty that I'm looking after wants to go out, and you can hear him meowing. Hey, Link, what are you doing? You want to go out? All right, hang on a second. Just got to finish this off. Okay, so there you go. It's pretty hard to see, but it does look nice. Amazing you. There we go. And I have used on this particular vellum, because a lot of people say that you can't use what do they say, double-sided tape. I have got this tape, this double-sided tape, which is 1/8 of an inch in width, very thin, and you can use it for a lot of things, and this is one of them. So just put a little bit on the back of each corner, All right, Link, hang on a minute, darling. I'll put you out in a sec. Oh, listen to that little tiny meow. That's a little tiny meow. I sometimes take in kittens and foster them that have been abandoned, and especially around spring in Australia, which is now, and we get all these little kittens that are abandoned. So I take them in and I bottle feed them and have them rehomed. Sometimes they don't get rehomed, they stay. Oh, and he's got a very funny little squeak. All right, so basically we're just putting this onto the front of our card. Oh, hear that funny little squeak? He's really trying hard to squeak. He's not doing a very good job. It's all right, Link. Give me 5 seconds, sweetie. All right, so basically that's the card, as you can see. All done. I hope you liked this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If anything, there's lots of little technique things in here that you'll learn, like the gold, and don't be afraid to stamp on gold paper using the StazOn, because it is very effective, especially with the black, but any color you have would work just fine. Yeah, thank you for... Oh, he's climbing up my leg now. Okay, hang on, sweetie. And he's purring. There we go. Look, say hi to everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I'm going to take this little boy out and give him some milk because I think that's what he wants. Say hi. Say hi. Hey, look at that little face. Okay, thanks for joining me. I do hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I will see you soon with a new tutorial. Take care until then. Bye.